All right, folks. Babyface heel. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling terminology, babyface means a good guy, heel is a bad guy, tweener is someone in between. So I come up with a list of athletes or celebrities, and me and the panel, we are going to decide whether they are a babyface or heel. Joy Taylor,
Hmm. Hmm.
tweener. At
Yeah,
this
I agree.
particular point, I say tweener, because of the accusations which led to her departure from Fox Sports. I mean, I can't get over that. Is being alleged, according to the lawsuit, the hairdresser approached Joy Taylor and told Joy Taylor allegedly that she was SA'd by the executive. And according to the lawsuit, Joy Taylor allegedly told her to get over it. And that is a bad look for Joy Taylor, A, because she is a woman, and B, Joy, you've been on the record talking about a very serious issue involving women, and that's domestic violence. You've been outspoken about your issues of domestic violence. You've dealt with domestic violence in the past. Well, I would like to believe SA is just as big as domestic violence, because when a
Oh,
woman is
fact.
coming forward and saying that she was SA'd, and again, allegedly, you told her to get over it, that is a bad look. Again, we don't know whether if it's true or not, but it is a bad look for Joy Taylor. And I'm kind of shocked that Joy Taylor is being accused of this. Then, of course, you allegedly sleeping with the executive in order for you to elevate yourself. So those accusations look pretty bad, especially with women in media, and people going to question, how did you get this role? How did you get this job? I still believe Joy Taylor is going to be fine. She's no longer at Fox Sports, but she's probably going to do her podcasting. She's probably going to do something else, because podcasting is the landscape. Podcasting is the new HBO, as Champ always says. This is what we do as content creators and podcasters. So I say tweener at this point for Joy Taylor. BRF.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. She's definitely a tweener. Now, we know we know how beautiful that woman is. I mean, she's one of the most beautiful women in the world. I mean, that's obvious. And I see, and people talk about like some of her sports takes and all that stuff. I don't think Joy Taylor is a bad talker when it comes to the sports game. I don't think she's a bad talker at all. I think she knows her stuff. So she's not a bad talker in my opinion. Whether people agree with her or not, that's their prerogative. But I've never found her to be that cringy when it comes to talking sports. I feel like she has a good under regard, because I feel like this people, like, a lot of people that talk sports that are in the sports media world nowadays, particularly with podcasting and stuff like that, they weren't necessarily players or household names or really made a life or career out of playing the sport, but it's an understanding of watching and learning and understanding stuff. And in some cases, like myself, even though I never really played, me like from high school up, being in sports like I have been, particularly in high school, taking weight training and all the stuff, lifting weights and stuff like that, you're going to be around the football coaches all the time. So you're gonna see stuff. You're gonna actually get to watch film from time to time when they have it in the gym room and they put it on. You're gonna get to watch film from time to time. You're gonna get to talk to the coaches. You're gonna get to pick their brains a little bit. So it's an understanding of the game and watching it and wanting to learn and actually wanting to understand sports and wanting to learn. So I mean, that's where we're at in a society nowadays in the 21st century. Everybody that talks it didn't play it, and some of the best talkers didn't necessarily play it, but it's because they follow it and they want to learn enough to want to not want to just get into any conversation with just like a with a small knowledge. They want to go in prepared, studied up, and ready to talk it. So that's how I feel with Joy Taylor. But yeah, the biggest thing to me, like you said, is just those accusations, especially with her being a woman in this business. That is one of the worst looks to have, because something like this will shoot down credibility for a lot of women that are really trying to make a name for themselves in the business. Like whether it's Kay Adams with the NFL, whether it's Mina Kimes with ESPN, or Rachel Nichols for that matter, or any of the sideline reporters like the Laura Rutledges of the world, the Aaron Andrews of the world, like women like that who've been in the business for a long time, and I actually respect their work and what they do. So yeah, it's definitely not the greatest look in the world. So that definitely takes some points away from me as far as like her standings on this for me. But I would, but like I said, I don't think she's done enough to completely kind of earn the heel role, because I think there are still likable qualities about Joy Taylor as to why I would consider her to be a tweener a tweener at this point. So that's where I stand on it. She's a tweener for me as well.
Champ.
Mm,
I think y'all said it best, man. She's a tweener. You thought I was gonna lean towards some other stuff? No. Look, accusations, all of that just goes into it, and I have to agree. And sometimes I think she says some stuff that's kind of out of pocket, you
mm-hmm.
know, and like the time she said that prostitution should be legal and stuff like that, and not only that, tall, funny, freaking money. It's hard to defeat allegations when you're talking like that. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack in that situation. You know, there's so much to unpack in this situation. And I just have to go with her as a tweener at this point in time. And look, thankfully she landed on her feet, but it's going to be interesting how it is for her going forward.
Next one, Tiger Woods.
Now, Babyface. Look, why? Look, don't stare at me like that. Why is people criticizing me because I'm out here doing my thing? I understand that. Look, I understand. Look, here's what I understand. I understand that not only people got mad at him because of the allegations of him sleeping around on his spouse or whatever. But look, man, they act like that young man murdered somebody, bro. He had to
I
go.
give that part. I understand that part, and I thought it was it was greatly exaggerated, Champ, because
Exactly. I mean,
adultery is nothing compared to murder.
no, you didn't. He went out there and look. I'm gonna keep it clean. I'm gonna keep it clean. Don't look. I'm not finna get pissed off at somebody because you made a mistake. That's what you did. That's fine. Only problem I ever had with Tiger is he took the OJ approach about around stuff. That's the only problem I ever had about Tiger is he denied his blackness. You about as black as I am, partner. Stop. And you saw,
Coplin, as he called it.
yeah. So you saw the way everybody acted with you the minute your ass got caught up. But as far as you haven't done anything just fucking egregious for me to call you just a heel, and you haven't done anything except play 21 holes of golf for me to mess with you about you being a heel. So that's just being real. I can't get pissed off at you because you went out here and got your groove on. I can't get pissed off at you because of that. I can't. Now, if you were to have essayed somebody, or if you were to have graped somebody, then that's a whole nother ball game. But the only problem I ever had with Tiger is he denied his blackness, and that was pretty much it. I really felt like the media kind of just over exaggerated. Look, let's just keep it all the way 100. We know NBA players, especially Lou Williams, he already said, look, I like to play. He said it himself. It came out of these guys' mouths. And there's a lot of look, and everybody knows that a lot of these players, whether they play golf, whether they play hockey, whether they wrestle, whether they podcast, whether they do anything, everybody know that everybody got their groupies. Everybody got their groupies once they get to a certain level. So for them to portray it like he just went out there and just murdered somebody, he got to make a commercial and a public apology about it. Like, I'm gonna just be real. I'd have told him to go jump in the damn lake. Just being real. Just being real. Ain't none of your damn business. And the same people who point cameras in my face here, you probably out here doing the same shit. And and like I stated, that's the thing that he did. I understood. But the thing is, okay, I made this mistake. I shouldn't be held in freaking contempt like I just went out there and just essayed to murder somebody. Just because I went and hung out with Lena Plug, that doesn't mean I should be treated like I'm the plug. Just gonna be weird. Just
tweener.
gonna be, huh?
I have him as a tweener. Champ, I'm sorry, but what do you? Yes, we understand what Tiger did. Although we don't condone what he did, they made him out like America's most wanted, and that's what's outrageous. But at the same time, Tiger, and he didn't. He took the OJ approach. You can't do what white people do, and think you can get, and think you're gonna get a slap on the wrist, and think you're gonna be treated differently. You've told me that, champ, as well as you, BRF. And the thing is with Tiger, look, there's nothing wrong with Tiger acknowledging that he's also Asian because his mother is Thai. And also, he said combination, Caucasian, Black, Native American because of, I think, his father, and then Asian because his mother, Thai. But the fact is, Tiger, when you got arrested back in 2017, remember that mugshot that he had in 2017, champ, with them pills?
That was a DUI.
Yeah,
the DUI. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they didn't list him. What do you think they checked him?
Oh, they checked him African American.
Yeah.
They didn't check him as an African American. You know what word they damn used. Don't play now.
Yeah.
You know what it is. But the thing, like I said, look, just because I understand everything that you're saying. He took the OJ approach, but it wasn't like he was doing the shit that OJ was doing. Everybody knew that it was a known fact that OJ was not only
No.
but
He
was beating his wife.
We can't compare Tigers off the field to OJ's off the field. But at the same time, he did take the OJ approach. OJ said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Tiger combination.
Yeah. But like I stated, I wouldn't look. That's egregious for you to sell out like that. But at the same time, okay, if that's the approach you want to take, hey, you might have a heart attack when you find out the black folks don't want you back, in the great words of Ice Cube. So, hey, keep that same energy when it's going. But the thing is, I'm not going to criticize. I'm going to crucify you. Now, when you need help, don't come to the community asking for damn help. That's one thing. But for the most part, I'm not going to sit here and get super pissed off about that. Although I was pissed at the time and I was merely a child. But outside of that, like I stated, it wasn't like he went out there and did a whole lot of dumb shit that was just kind of like crazy. Like I stated, he went out there and played golf, hanging out with Nina Plug and Angela White and all them. I feel you. But other than that, okay, what have you done other than win championships? What have you done? I mean, like I stated, everybody, I'm going to just be real. Everybody, and I'm not condoning this because Michael Jordan did the same thing. He may not have come out and said it in that way, but at the end of the day, he did say Republicans buy sneakers too. Let's just keep it all the way 100. Everybody is not equipped to be that activist type of character, not to be that guy who's going to stand up and say, I'm not only playing for myself, but I'm playing for my people. Jim Brown was able to do that. Warren Moon was able to do that. Doug Williams was able to do that. It takes someone special in order to be able to handle those pressures, because with those pressures that you put on yourself also comes criticism. Not everybody's equipped to handle that. And guess what? If you're not able to handle it, I understand you're not able to handle it. If you just want to play golf, I understand that. But at the same time, when you get into some bull jive, don't come back to the community and say, "Hey man, let me help you out." No, you good. Remember what you said. But other than that, I would just be real. You haven't done anything egregious enough for me to even tip you across that line of outside of you being a baby face. It's like, okay, you put on this front for corporate America. It got teared down because you want to go out there and slang and bang. But that was about it. Other than that, I just like, hey, Tiger, and then you just walk on past. That's about it, bro. That's how it is.
BRF.
He's I'd have him as a tweener, but kind of yeah. I mean, this is how I feel about the whole Tiger Woods thing and like him cheating on his wife and all this other stuff. There was a Showtime original movie that came out a long time ago called The Tiger Woods Story. And I can't remember the guy's name that plays Tiger Woods, but he's done like a lot of notable, really good movies. I can't remember his name. I have to look that up. But anyways, there was a particular joke that he told during this movie. That I guess that one of the reporters caught wind and heard it, and basically made it on the record, and Tiger didn't want it off the record, but he was sitting around a bunch of women when he told this joke. So I mean, this should like it shouldn't. I don't want to say it shouldn't surprise you that something like that happened, but it kind of didn't surprise me that something like that happened from the extent of cheating on his wife. Because I mean, and the stories were out there as far as him being a womanizer anyway. So I mean, it's kind of not shocking. Um, I don't know if I want to tell the joke now, so I'll save it for after the show. But it's a pretty funny joke. It's a funny joke. I'll leave it at that. I'll tell the fellas after the joke because I remember the joke and it's a hilarious joke. But but I mean, yeah. But I feel like this. As much as that incident brought him down and almost brought him to rock bottom, and then on top of that, he had all the injuries and the surgeries and trying to rehab and get back to what he was. Him coming back and winning that Masters a few years ago, when he's basically in the twilight on the backside of his career, really did a lot of image saving for him because it reminded people of who he was from that time frame from like 97 up until 03 or however long it was before before the injuries really started to pile up and the surgery started to happen and everything started to pile up, and it really took away his effectiveness because what made Tiger Woods so effective was Tiger Woods put the power game on the map as far as golfing and his ability to drive. Like he made being able to hit a golf ball 310, 320, 330 yards. Tiger was the guy that revolutionized the game. He made it the norm because golfers were not driving the ball that far. That like there weren't that many golfers driving it like that before Tiger Woods. You might have had a couple that could hit that had power game like that, but they weren't nowhere near as good in the short game as Tiger with his putting. Tiger's one of the greatest putters who have ever lived. Because I used to follow golf. And let me tell you something. Tiger, some of the putts he would used to make was like just, I'm talking about like, you could put like in terms of sports games, you put it up there with like some of the, some of the biggest clutch hits, like David Ortiz hitting clutch home runs or like Tom Brady making clutch throws like that. When you talk about the sports game, some of the putts Tiger Woods made in terms of his short game is like right up there with some of the best athletes ever in terms of just measuring how good he was in pressure situations. So I feel to this day, Jack Nicklaus to me should there should only be a few. There should be maybe two, three guys at the most in terms of a tier with Tiger Woods as being the greatest ever. I think it's just one. I think it's just him and Jack Nicklaus in terms of greatest golfers of all time. And then everybody else, here, it's a crapshoot. You can pick whoever you after Jack and Tiger, pick whoever you want after that. Because I feel like there were no two golfers that dominated the game for as long a stretch as Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. So like him winning that Masters when he did saved a lot of face and it rebuilt his image. And now you see his son kind of taking up the mantle and already being really good for his age. So it's like you can only imagine what he's going to be when he finally becomes eligible for the PGA Tour when he gets old enough. And I'm ready. I'm ready to see Charlie play because I'm excited. He's got a lot of potential. But he's a tweener for me just from the standpoint of just like I measure tweeners like how people look at him. I think it's like half look at him as like just this, some look at him as the greatest golfer of all time, admired, respected, a hero for us in terms of actually getting into golfing like that. And then you just have the other side that didn't want him to succeed. And, they see the incident with his ex-wife, that incident, and they kind of harp on that. So that's kind of how I measure it as far as being a tweener. I think Tiger's a tweener, but at the same time, I feel like the last decade or so of his life, he's done a lot to kind of rebuild himself. And you know what I'm saying? You see him in advertisements and all that again, and he's doing his thing. So he's a tweener, but he's done a really good job of rebuilding his image over the past decade plus.
Was that joke related to a golf ball and a garden hose?
No. We'll put, I'll say this about the joke. It's a Little Rascals joke.
Okay.
Shout out to our girl Candace Williams. Shout out Candace. Last but not least, for Babyface heel, Johnny Manziel. Tweener.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel was the life of the party. He was a redshirt freshman. I mean, first year in SEC. What catapulted Johnny Manziel's career was the signature win against the number one team, Alabama, going into Nick Saban. Imagine if NIL deals transpired during Johnny Manziel's prime at Texas A&M. Johnny Manziel would be making mad money. And off the court during his time in Texas A&M, I mean, he's at NBA games, whether Mavericks games, Houston Rockets games. You're seeing him with Drake. You're seeing him with Future. You're seeing him with LeBron. Then he gets drafted to the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, he didn't take his football career seriously. Johnny Manziel had issues with substance abuse, a lot of issues at that particular time. I mean, Joe Thomas didn't have a lot of positive things to say, and everyone knows how well liked and respected and how great of a football player Joe Thomas was during his time in Cleveland. I say tweener with Johnny because he has turned around his life. He's become a role model. He's become a mentor. I see him from time to time on Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho, and he's done a good job. Plus, he was an advocate for Reggie Bush getting back his Heisman, and rightfully so. So, and the impact on social media and for college football, because if Johnny Manziel had the NIL deals, Johnny Manziel would be making crazy money because of how big he was as a football player, but also off the football field. But there's going to be some critics, particularly Paul Feinbaum, Colin Cowherd, and others, because they feel like what he did, particularly at his position at the quarterback, unbecoming. And what was so unique about Johnny is about like 5'11", 6 feet, about a little over 200 pounds. But the way he played football, and it was like watching Doug Flutie out there. The way he was making plays with his legs and the way he was able to escape. I mean, watching him against Alabama at home and on the road, that was magnificent. And he put a lot, and he was putting up some great performances throughout his time at Texas A&M. And Of course, he had help with Mike Evans. I wish his football career in the NFL would have been as great as his collegiate career. Obviously, it was the right choice for the Dallas Cowboys not to draft him. They went with Zach Martin. But I am glad that Johnny has turned around his life and gotten his issues together. Champ?
He is a tweener, and for every reason that you described. Look, people are going to say what they would like to say, but it's hard to be a celebrity and a quarterback at the same time. And history has proven that. History has proven that time and time again, whether it be Johnny Manziel, whether it be Tony Romo, whether it be Randall Cunningham during his time in Philadelphia. You know, remember when before Baker Mayfield got traded, people were calling him he wants to be a celebrity, not a football player, not a quarterback. It's very, very hard to have that balance between being a celebrity and being a quarterback in the NFL, because people are always going to have this stigma about the quarterback position being the CEO of the company, which they are. You're the face of the company. You're the guy that the owner or the CEO of the team takes to the country club to meet all of his rich buddies to go have a drink. Say, this is my quarterback. This is what we're going to, here's how we're going to go to the Super Bowl. When everybody gets off being a quarterback is kind of like being a politician at a certain point. You're out here kissing babies, signing an autograph, and everybody wants to see you. Nobody's asking about the offensive lineman when you get off the bus. Everybody's asking who's the quarterback. Let's just be honest about it. You are the star. You are the top spot. You bust your back, your arms, and you play even when you don't feel like playing because you believe. You want to make people believe. And unfortunately for Johnny Manziel, he became more of a celebrity than he did a quarterback, and that proved to be his downfall. Yeah. I'll say this. He's a tweener because of all of those reasons, but you also have to take into consideration how young he was when he made those mistakes. These guys, like I said, a lot of these guys, and it doesn't excuse it. It does not excuse it. A lot of these guys are only 21, 22, maybe even 23 years old when they get this money, when they get this new fame. A lot of these guys grew up probably in strict homes, you know. And when you go off to college, I will say this. You go off to college, that's your first bit of freedom outside of mom and dad. Now add in millions of dollars. Now add in fame, celebrity. I can only imagine you giving me that when I was 19 years old. Well, responsibility at the quarterback position, responsibility for yourself. I have to make sure that I perform. And look, the pressures, sometimes there is a such thing as getting too much too quickly. There's a such thing as getting too much too quickly. And when somebody gives you $14 million and that's not to say he had that, but somebody give you $14 million before you're really ready to do that, you can just imagine what you're going to do. So, and I just think that that's what happened to Johnny Manziel. It was a lot too quickly. And that's how come you saw him skyrocket to the top and then just burn out just as quickly. But I would say he's a tweener. Look, it takes a real, for guys like him, Ryan Leaf, Heath Schuler, even Jamarcus Russell to come out and admit they made mistakes, not be narcissistic about it, not be buttholes about it, and not run away from it, and be a cautionary tale to a lot of young men and women. That says more about your character than anything else could. So for that, I will label him a tweener, but we have to make sure you got to put yourself in these young men and young women, I will say, because a lot of women's athletes are playing as well. We got to put ourselves in their position. How would you have been? It's easy to be the old head in the room and say, I wouldn't have did that when you know your ass was wild as hell as a 19, 20-year-old. I know I was. So I'm not going to sit around here and criticize these young men for getting wild and wild when they get a whole bunch of money. Especially in the social media days, where you have access to everything. Like Cam Newton said, when you have a lot of money, money that no doesn't apply to you, especially with a lot of situations. Something can be closing up in like 5 minutes. And you say I pay $500 extra if you make me a cheesecake. Okay, done. Money on top of responsibility, on top of excess, that creates a lot of bad recipes. And unfortunately, that was Johnny Manziel's downfall. But fortunately for him, help of the good Lord, he was able to come back up and he's able to make something out of himself. Maybe not an NFL quarterback, but he will be famous and live in infamy forever in the eyes of every college football fan because we're never going to forget Johnny Football. We are never going to forget Johnny Football.
Ever won the Heisman Trophy as a redshirt? I believe he became the first to do that.
Yes.
BRF.
I got Johnny Manziel. I have him as a tweener too. And this is when he was coming out, the year he came out as far as the NFL draft is concerned. I'm gonna be honest. I was never he didn't translate for me as an NFL quarterback. I just felt like he was one of those guys that thrived off of the college game. He thrived off of the fact that defenses still really weren't, advanced like that. You had your athletes here and there, but defenses weren't really advanced like that where they were in the pros. Like a lot of his stuff was like out of structure. He didn't do a lot out of the pocket. So there wasn't a lot of like good tape as far as him coming out. So I honestly didn't think he would be a good pro, but it's kind of tragic, like the things that happened to him and what turned out to him and how things kind of spiraled out of control for him. Like, no, you don't anticipate that, and you don't wish that on any soul. You don't wish that on anybody. The trials and tribulations that he had to go through. But yeah, like I didn't think he would be a good quarterback, but the fact that he wasn't a good quarterback, and then you stack that with all of the issues that happen, like you don't want that. You don't want that much despair for anybody. So I'm happy to see him doing podcasts now, him kind of speaking his truth, talking about things he went through and talking about the game and really turning his life around and just making things better for him to be out in the light but kind of like talk to the youth and talk to the young people and try to educate them and try to, tell them about stuff that he did and where he went wrong and how they can prevent that from happening. So I'm happy to see that he's kind of finding that he's found himself after football. But I mean, with that being said, he was one of the most exciting college football players we've ever seen. I mean, we are not going to take away from the fact that Texas A&M was box office when they were there. When he was there, they were must see, and that was like the most relative Texas A&M had been in a while. And just he put them back on the map, like with his style of play, and then going out and beating some of the best teams. Like, yeah, like you said it, like the number one to go to Tuscaloosa. I mean, it's not just the fact that he beat them. He went in their house. He went in their house, ate their food, drank their juice, sat on their couch, watched the TV, left the house and left the TV running. Like I mean, disrespected them. And as a team like Texas A&M, who's trying to make a name for themselves, kind of making that move to the SEC, trying to make a name for themselves, to take out an Alabama like that early on in a move like that is like, it's like you can't ask for nothing more than that from a new team in a new conference like that. You can't ask for nothing more than that. So Johnny Manziel put these boys on the map early, making that transition. But yeah, I think, like I said, he's a twinner just because you have those that like him and those that don't like him. But I respect what he's done after the game to get his life together, and it's stories like that, like redemption stories like his, to be able to still make something out of his life after everything that's happened to them. Those are the stories we live for. Those are the stories we need to give flowers to, and those are the stories we need to kind of continue to like make public. out in the open for people to see, to show that no matter what you've gone through in life, there's always a way. You can always make a way out of no way, and Johnny Manziel is a true example of that. So I gotta give him mad respect for that. But yeah, he is. But he's definitely a tweener for me, because he's not everybody's cup of tea. But I mean, you have to respect that man for getting his life together. So shout out Johnny Manziel.
Definitely, no doubt about it.